Just a quick update as to what's happened with my wheel. I did try stripping down this hub. It's reassembled now just to see if I'd managed it. Basically it failed. I couldn't get the ratchet ring out of the inside of the hub. I tried a few different methods of levering, heat, cold, a variety of things, couldn't get it out. I think if I'd have gone too far trying to remove it, I'd have caused even more damage. So that didn't really work. Tried dripping in some Loctite. It seemed to have sorted it and gone a bit solid. Put it on the bike, gave it a pedal turn and it slipped again. So basically that hub now is pretty much toast. I might have another look at repairing it at some point, but I don't think it's worth it. So what I did is I now have this wheel. I will get a different angle to show you what I've got. Okay, so you might not be able to see this too well, but this is an El Gallo hub. It's chrome plated. A lot of that plating is actually wearing off, so it's not in the greatest conditions. I've had it for a few years. Got it 2012-ish, I think, at Bike Jumble. I built it into a wheel at the time, but that wheel had a slightly buckled rim and it was dinged, so I couldn't just use that as a replacement. But yeah, that rim that this hub was built into had a ding in it, it was buckled. I didn't want to just go for that, and it was a bit narrower than this, so I swapped out the hub for this one. Luckily the spoke lengths were the same or near enough that I can build the wheel without it being an issue. It's a double channel, or the rim's got a channel in it, so if the spokes were slightly long and sticking out at the end of the nipple, it's not going to cause any issues with the tube. So as I say, yeah, built it up and I'm just going around and doing some touring. I had put it on my bike just to check that it would all work, and I'd forgotten that I needed to go around and do some final truing and checks. So I will be checking with the Park WAG4 wheel alignment gauge to get the dishing correct, and also I will be, let's just get this out of its box, we'll be using the Park tension meter on the spokes. Not too concerned about getting the spoke tension even around the wheel. It's a used rim, I've had it a long time, so it's a bit battered. I'm not expecting perfect tension. I'm just going to be looking for any really high spots of tension, low spots of tension, get those evened out. While I've got the wheel in the touring stand, I do have the Park rotor alignment gauge, and I will be just making sure that my disc rotor is straight. I think it's probably going to have some slight bends from use. If I just get that straightened up while I've got it in the stand, then that will make things a lot easier. So at the moment, with my truing, I'm just getting the radial true, or making it a circle. As I say, the rim is used, so it's got high spots, it's got low spots. I'm just going to try and get those as good as I can. There is going to be a point where I go, that's good enough, because I say it's disc brakes, and I'm not going to notice a small amount of out of true, but obviously I want it to be the best I can. I'm going to do a little bit of that and I'll catch up with you in a minute. Okay, I'm not an expert at using this, but basically I've put my details into the Park Tool wheel tension app online. So just go on the spoke roughly midway, hold that there, get a measurement. So that is 27.5 on that one. 27.5 next. And I'm just working from the valve hole, going around. This is the right side, the other side is the left side. So I'm going to go around all of them on the right and then all of them on the left, working round from the valve hole. And then I will see how the wheel looks against itself. I still got some truing to do, but I don't want to go too far before checking the tensions. Anyway, I will catch up in a bit and show you what I've done there. Okay, on the screen now I'm going to show you what I've got on the tensions from this initial adjustment. It's not amazing. As you can see, on the right hand side I've got 3 spokes that are with or outside of the 20% limit, and on the left I got 3 spokes that are outside of the 20% limit. So basically you want the values top and bottom range to be 20%. So I've got a few that are out, a few on my right side that are a bit higher than I would like, so that's one thing to bear in mind. And on my left side it's not too terrible. Spoke 6 does look a little bit high in tension. That does coincide with a fairly high tension on spoke 6 on the right, so I assume that's going to be, let's have a look at this. Try and find it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just past spoke 6 on left and right, like spoke 7 sort of region, I'm getting a rub. So yeah, that's showing on the left that spoke 7 I've got a little bit low on the left, so it's just one of those things you can work from there. See how it goes. I will try and get it a bit better and hopefully put another image like this in with it set a bit better. Okay, I just had a check of the dish, which is how centered the rim is between either side of the hub on the axle. So where it fits in the dropouts of the bike, you want the wheel to be dead centered. That's the dish. On this one, it is a little bit over to the left, which is towards the disc rotor. I would show measuring it, but it's quite complex. Well, it's not complex, but it's difficult to show. So basically you get your gauge. It's got little blocks either end. So you put the blocks on the rim, then you push this up against the axle or the solid place on the hub either end. Then once it's in place, you lock it tight there, flip the wheel over, put it back on in the same position, and then see if there's a gap between this pointer and the hub. If there is, then you just gently move that in, lock it off there, put it back on the other side. Then you'll have one end resting against the rim, one end on the hub, and the other end will be floating. And then the distance that you need to move across is half of the distance between this and the rim. So basically it's a little bit of trial and error until you get used to it. I just moved it across a little and I just need to true up from there because I had to do it by loosening the left hand spokes because I have some very tight right hand ones. But see how that goes, de-stress it in a minute and go from there. Okay, that's got this wheel acceptably true for my purposes. I think it's about as good as I can get without spending hours tweaking slightly. It's out of round by the corner of an envelope, folds over once and like that, so it's 0.5 millimeters. I'm not going to notice that. It's all straight. So yeah, I still need to do the rotor, but for anyone who wants to hear what this is like, doesn't have the best click in the world, but it's it will do as a spare wheel. It will get me riding again. Yeah, it should do alright as a wheel to keep me riding. Do want to get a new bike at some point, just for the new geometry. Try 29-inch wheels, possibly full sus. I'm not sure yet, but that's not this year. This year is just going to be keep riding this thing. If I need to buy a new wheel, then I'll buy a new wheel. We'll see how this one goes first. I'd say it's not the greatest. So yeah, the engagement is not great. It takes a little bit to engage, so I prefer something with a bit better engagement. It's not a major issue, we'll just have to see how it goes. I still got the rotor to true up. Might see if I can get that to be an angle I can show what I do with it. But yeah, almost complete. Okay, I've got this in a position just to show you what you do with the rotor truing. So I've got the rotor truing gauge on the side. At the moment it's set quite far off. Just wind it in gently. This is difficult to do from this angle. Just doing it to show you what it is. So there we go. Got a slight rub there. So yeah, what they say on the Park Tool videos is on the rotor, on like the spider of the rotor, is to write on each of the arms just a number, just so you know which one's which when you're going around and doing it. Then you find this is just a small area. So what you do is you get the tool, so it's about there. Let's go for that. Put it on and just give it a slight bend in the area. And there we go, that's taken out that, so you just go in a little bit more. Find any spots that are rubbing. Just work it a little bit at a time. You don't want to go crazy and really buckle it. So do that. Take it in a little bit more. And then basically you want to work to the point where as it goes round, you just want a light rub on the whole surface. If you get to the point, let's see if I can. Okay, if you get to a point like this rotor, where most of the time you're going around, you got a rub, and then you've got a point with no rub, then that's an area that you want to bend out away. Which, looking at this, seems to be quite a large area. So if you're doing a large adjustment, you use that side of the tool. I'm just going to get that on like the spider leg and just give it a little tweak. So you just repeat that a couple of times, making sure that your wheel doesn't fly out of the truing stand. Okay, a little bit there, that just needs to come out. Doesn't really matter if you touch the rotor during this process. Recommend wiping it with isopropyl alcohol afterwards, just to clean off any residue from the tool or from the fingers. So now I've actually gone that way, I just go back and check. You don't want them, well, you want it as perfect as you can get it, really. How perfect that is depends how much time you put into it, how bent the rotor is. If you give it a bit of a bend and you see no change, then it's possible that your rotor's knackered and you need a new one. But if it's a badly bent rotor, personally I would say there's no harm in trying to straighten a badly bent rotor, because if it's bent enough that it can't be fixed, you're not going to make it worse. Anyway, I'll get this all sorted and show you when it's finished. Okay, as I say, this wheel's now true enough for my purposes. Disc brake, so it doesn't need to be perfect in any way true, but obviously it's better if it is. So I've gone through, I've trued it, de-stressed it a couple of times. My numbers still pop up really weird, so I may or may not show the final tension plot. Got my disc rotor close enough to being straight. Again, it's close enough for my purposes. Might have a slight bit of rub, but you might bend your rotor by putting it in and out of the car. Right, mine goes on the back of my car most of the time, but there are various things that can cause it to have issues. But yes, even though I say it's straight enough, I might just go around and do some final tweaks just to be sure, but I know that putting that on my bike, I'm not really going to have any issues. It's going to ride well, apart from the slight issue with the engagement, but as I say, as a wheel to get me riding again, it's fine. So I'll be interested to see how it copes. It is quick release. I can't fit a 10mm axle on this one. My previous hub I went for the 10mm axle after breaking a quick release axle. So yeah, it's the axle that broke, not the skewer. This one, I've had a look at the axle and it seems to be pretty robust with the quick release skewer. I would still prefer to go 10mm, but that's not an option here. But yeah, so it's on the Superstar AMX rim that I was using before. I've put the same rim tape back in, not going tubeless. I'm not sure the Schwalbe knobby nicks that I've got would run tubeless. I don't think they would, because I went for the cheap ones when I got them. And I'm not sure if I will be going tubeless on this or not. Depends if I can find 26-inch tyres. Let's see. So yeah, it's all done. Not sponsored by Park at all. Obviously everything I've got here that I've been using is Park tools, but that's because I believe in buying a tool when you need it and buying the best quality you can afford, and I know that Park are great. They provide brilliant videos as well. So yeah, it's like once I'm in the ecosystem of the Park tool stand, it's just easy to get the Park tool rotor truing gauge, all of that. Let's see what else. The adjustments that you make, the arms and the bit on the rotor gauge, they are accurate enough for most people. If you really wanted to go even more accurate, you can replace this assembly with a couple of dial gauges. So one for the radial true, so how round it is, and one for lateral true, so left to right. You can also get a dial gauge on the rotor truing gauge, just so you know exactly how much run out you got, and you can make it to a tighter tolerance. If I find it cheap enough at some point, I might do that, just because I like the engineering side of that. But apart from that, that's this wheel is pretty much ready to be finished, go on my bike, and then I can ride it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching. I could have showed you earlier in the process of building the wheel, but at that point it was sort of like stripping down on my bed. It wasn't a great wasn't a great experience. Wasn't sure if it was all going to fit. Just did it all, got it together, and I was like, this seems to work, and then went from there. As wheels go, if I was building a new one, I would want to get it a lot better than this, so I wouldn't want any high or low spots. But as I say, this wheel has been very well ridden. I haven't been gentle with it in the past. So drop-offs, jumps, some of those went wrong, such as slamming my wheel against a curb and other various bits and pieces. So it's not perfect, but let's say when you got a tyre filled with air on there, you're not going to notice that much of a difference. Anyway, until next time, I'm Chris Plater. I'll see you later. Bye.